Hello, my name is Mark Isham, and welcome to the OpenClone project. This is a project I created in direct inspiration from a blog post from RAMP that dropped a couple months ago. I will link to it in the open source repo, but this is a fascinating post about how RAMP is using headless server-based AI agents to really accommodate almost any task inside their business and enabling their developers and their internal employees to really spin off ideas very quickly and have them run on the server side rather than on their local laptops and check in and see the results of that work over time, and even have multiple different agents running various ideas in parallel and see which ones win. And this is just something that's completely fascinating to me, moving the already immense productivity that we have for LLM-based development and on our local host to a headless server agent that can then run disconnected from your laptop. It can run overnight. It can run in response to events coming in. It can be completely hands-off, have it respond to bugs that occur and maybe propose a fix for that, open a PR and assign the PR for your review, for example. I think that's a massive productivity win, and it doesn't just have to be coding tasks. It could also be internal operations like customer support requests and so forth. So this is a demonstration that I put together myself of using a kind of a bare bones implementation of a server-based coding agent running on OpenCode, which is the open source framework that RAMP used. And as I've been digging into OpenCode, it's pretty fantastic. It's very easy to use and it works quite well. So I definitely recommend checking out that project. We will be installing that, and you can see it here. Out of scope for this, at RAMP, they are using Modal to actually manage their instances, to spin them up and spin them down very quickly. There are a lot of other options to do that as well. You don't have to go native into the clouds to do that. I'm gonna leave that out of the scope of this exercise. Really, what I want to do is just spin up some VMs on Google Cloud and just see how this might work, and then the actual implementation can be, for production grade, can be a lot more sophisticated than this. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to walk through a demonstration. We're going to set up Google Cloud with some virtual machines that we can spin up at a moment's notice, and then we can send work to those machines to do coding on a very simple project, and then review the PRs that are created, all hands off. So this is pretty exciting and something I thoroughly enjoyed looking into, and I'm just in wonder of what's possibility internal for companies to build on this. So let's go ahead and get started. So I have step-by-step instructions. In the repo here. These will all be, we're going to walk through these myself here, but they're all here for your reference, as you go through and do this yourself. So let's go ahead and close some tabs here. Okay, first thing we need to do is we need to get an API key. So I'm using Gemini. You can use Anthropic. You can use whatever you want. OpenCode even uses local models. That's up to you which you want to use. I found it just easiest to use Gemini right now. So let's go ahead and get our API key. And we're going to copy it here. I'm going to delete this key after this video, so it's all good. Let's see here. We're going to save this for later. This is from a prior run through. Here's my Gemini API key. Okay. And then we are going to go to GitHub, and we are going to create a personal access token for our bot to be able to create branches and create pull requests. I think more likely in a production environment, you might want to create your own GitHub user to do this rather than linking it off your own personal user. But for this demonstration, we can just go ahead and just create one off of my personal account here. So I'm going to call this OpenClone. I'm going to set the expiration to something minimal. I'm going to delete it after this video. And I'm going to select repositories and I have a test repository for this video, so I'm just going to limit it to that, and then add permissions. So we need content and pull requests, and we need read write. Okay. Generate. Okay. Copy that token, and let's store that for later. Okay. So we're done with that. Let's get these windows out of our way. All right, next up, we need to go to GCP and do a one-time setup. We need to create a firewall rule because we are going to be interacting with our VMs through port 4096, which is not open by default. So we're going to go ahead and just create a rule to open that up. So let's do that now. Ingress only. For now, I'm doing all instances on the network. You would, in a production environment, obviously you would want to limit this down to just the clients that would access this. But we're going to open it up now just to make the demo simple. And we're going to do that. I'm going to do 4096. And let's see if I missed anything. Okay. Let's see. Okay. While that's going, let's go to compute instances now. And we're going to create a VM. So the goal here is we're going to create an initial template that has OpenCode installed. And we're going to set it up the way we want. And then we're going to save as a machine image and then use that to be able to spin up new instances at a moment's notice. So let's go ahead and create an instance here. Pick any region that is suitable. I'm going to try Northern Virginia here. You don't need a super beefy instance since we're running a cloud-based LLM. If you were running your own local LLM, you would obviously need something a little bit more powerful. I was having some trouble getting access to GPUs for local-based cloud models myself, so it was just a lot easier to use existing APIs. So E2 standard, let's pick that. Storage and OS, go to the Ubuntu, go to the latest, minimal, and then let's give it a little extra space in case we want to download some extra stuff. And networking, allow HTTP traffic because we need to access these instances. Great. Okay, this will take a few seconds. And then even after it spins green here, give it a few more seconds for the boot to complete. So while this is going, let's get our notes ready here. What we're going to do once it connects is we're going to SSH into the instance and actually install the dependencies. That includes Git, because it is a minimal install. So Git, obviously OpenCode itself, curl, nano, things like that. So we're going to install that. That will take, probably a few minutes to install. So we'll skip ahead on the video once we get to that point. And then we will configure GitHub access. So let's see what's going on here. Okay. Hopefully it'll connect. If not, we'll give it a minute or two to finish the boot. Yes. Here we go. Okay, we're in. So now, from the setup document, we have basically all the commands to put the dependencies in there. So see, we're installing Git, curl, nano, npm, node, OpenCode AI, all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. And then this will take a minute or two. So I'm going to skip ahead. Okay, it's done. I was preparing some of my copy-paste targets while we're doing that. So now we are in, we have the dependencies installed. So let's go ahead. The next thing we need to do is configure our Git credentials. So I'm going to paste in this line here. And again, this is in the setup doc. Note it has the personal access token pasted in here that I prepared while we're off screen here. So you will have to do that substitution. Okay, that's in there. Now we're going to do some more config. This is the user and email that we're going to assign to PRs. So that's configured. Okay, now we're going to clone our repo. This is a test repo that I have. This is a private one. You can't access it. Very simple. It basically just has an HTML calculator app that looks like the iPhone app, and we'll show that in a minute, that we can customize. So it's kind of a fun tutorial. So let's go ahead and clone that. Go into that directory. So yeah, you can see, yeah, we got the calculator in there. All right, so now let's open up OpenCode. And it's important you open it up in the repo directory because it's going to act on that repo. All right, the first thing we do, and so this interface is quite powerful and very intuitive too. I think they did a great job on the OpenCode setup, and it's very easy to set things up as opposed to OpenClaw, which I think for those who played around with that, there's just so much configuration in that it was definitely some toil to connect to that. Okay, I'm gonna hit connect. I'm gonna connect to Google, and I'm gonna paste in that Gemini key that we saved from earlier. Okay, and whatever model you want, I'm gonna use flashlight preview. I just put default for this. Okay. Okay, now we should be connected, and you can see the model here. So let's ask it something. Oops. Okay, so we are working. Okay, so let's exit. You can either hit Control-C or just exit. Now we need to do some more configuration here. So we're going to create an OpenCode JSON file. And we are going to paste in our personal access token again. And what this is doing here, okay, you can see, and I've already pasted it in. This is creating configuration for OpenCode to use the GitHub MCP package to do the connection to GitHub. I found this was the easiest way to do it because it doesn't involve OAuth or any sort of web-based authentication. You can just use your personal access token, and this scales to multiple instances that you might spawn later. So let's go ahead and save that. Exit. Okay. Yep, got it. And now let's go back and OpenCode again. Okay, and let's see if we can access the repo. So list all open PRs using the MCP tool. No open pull requests. Okay, so that worked. Okay, now we're going to make this a little more intuitive. So let's exit out. Oops, sorry, no. We're still in here. Okay, we're going to run the init. And basically what this does is it creates an AGENTS.md file. OpenCode will scan the project you're in, gain some context from that project, and then create an agents.md to run, whenever you do a prompt, just like Claude MD or any other, GitHub or what's the GitHub one? I forgot now. Whatever the default markdown that the LLM will look at every time it runs its prompts, it will create here. So now let's exit out, and there should be an agents file there. Yep. So let's edit that. There's not much in here because it's such a basic project, but we're going to add some more context here. So obviously for a bigger project, it would have a lot more initialized here. I'm adding some comments here. First of all, about autonomy. Since the goal here is to spin off asynchronous work, you don't want a lot of back and forth with the LLM. You want it actually to take direction and just run with it. So these are some instructions here to do best guess, basically, on any questions that might come up. Here's some information about GitHub. So we're using the MCP tool. So just making sure that it uses that rather than trying to use command line, bash command lines, or other methods that will fail without the authentication. And then information about creating a branch. Whenever we start a new piece of work, we want to create a branch for it. And then we want to put a pull request with some information in it. So let's save this. Yeah. Okay. Now, let's go back into OpenCode again. And we're going to do a little bit of a test. So while that's up, let me show you the repo. Oh, here it is. Hit refresh. This is just my internal test repo. You can see no pull requests open, other than some ones I was testing with earlier, but no open pull requests. And just the main branch right now. So now, let's go back to our SSH, and we're going to give it a prompt. So add a file called VM access test, and open that PR with that contents in there. Okay, I created this PR, so let's go back. If we look at pull request now, we'll see there's actually a pull request in here. You can see it made a change. And there's the VM access test that it created here. Similarly, if you look, there's a new branch for this as well. So that's working. That's good. Let's go back here. Okay. So now I'm going to exit out of this. So we're getting pretty close to getting the VM where we want it to. I wanted to show go on a little tangent here and just show how we can access this remotely. So if you run OpenCode Web, it will actually put OpenCode into web server mode. And now we can go, if we get the IP address of that template we had here, which we'll copy here, let's put it in our document and go to 4096, which is the port we just opened, and it's not secure HTTP right now. Let's go and open up in a browser. We should be able to access it. Yep. And you can see here's a connection to the LM. So that's kind of cool if you want to debug something. List open PRs. Yep, and there's that PR that we just created. Okay, let's exit out of that now. So we're going to kill that. All right. In the setup doc, I have some instructions here, which I'm not going to demo right now because it's a lot. But you can also put the server into daemon mode, basically where it will respond to curl requests. And that's actually what we're going to use for our testing here. So you can see steps here. You can do OpenCode serve, on that port. And then, in your local workstation, you can curl into it. You can create a session, and you can actually send events to it, right? Here it is. Yeah, like add a title to the calculator, for example. What you have to do here is you have to set up a daemon to monitor the responses because it's using server-side events, and then you can pull out some of the messages from that and then send this event to actually do a prompt remotely. So this is how we are going to interoperate with the instances that we have up and running. It allows you to basically remote connect into it, build an app around that. There's an SDK as well. There's other ways of connecting into those remotely. This is just what I used for this internal demo. I don't think there's a need to demonstrate that here because we have a little tool that I created that makes it a little easier. So let's get the VM finished so that we can image it. So let's go back here. And what we need to do is we need to set up that command here. Where was it? The OpenCode, there it is. OpenCode Web, and then we have, I'm sorry, on the daemon, this one, OpenCode Serve. We need to make sure that that runs at boot up time, so that the machine, when you clone it, will actually be sitting there waiting for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and copy in some commands here. Okay. So this one I already put in place. Nope, that's not it. Sorry. Cancel. This one. Okay. This has the directory of this repo and information about myself. So it's oh, I don't have my username in here. Sorry. Hold on. I'm doing this off screen. Okay, you can see here my username and the working directory here. So we're basically just configuring a daemon to run at startup. A little test user bin OpenCode. User bin OpenCode is running the right one. Now let's enable the service. Okay, did that. And then let's just do a little sanity check here. Is that running on 4096? Yes, it is. Okay, exit out of that. Okay, so now we have this template basically in a state that we want it. So we're going to clone it. So first of all, I'm going to kill this session here. I'm going to go into here, back to Google Cloud now, and I'm going to do create new machine image. Call it OpenClone template. Let's call it baseline. I think we can take all the defaults here and create. Okay. This will take a minute or two, so while we're waiting, I'm gonna just skip ahead on the video. Okay, we're back. It's done. Took a couple minutes. Now go into the VM instances here. We don't have to do this, but just to kind of show this working, I'm going to delete this instance that we were running. Should be working on the delete. Okay, and then we're going to create some new ones. So let's do create instance. Oops, create from machine images. Select that. Customize, and let's call it OpenClone 1. What did I miss? Oh, default network. Great. Okay, and let's do this 3 times. Create from. Obviously, this is the part that you would automate if you were using this locally. Or use a third-party provider in this for this. OpenClone 2. You're going to make me do this every time, aren't you? Great. And then one more. Create instance. Machine templates. OpenClone. Oh, well, okay. That's fine. It didn't like that. I'm going to get rid of that. I typed too quickly. Create from machine images, OpenClone, customize, OpenClone 3. Where was the problem? We must have forgot to set that when we created it, the image. Okay. So we got 3 up and running. So now let's copy these IP addresses. Number 1, number 2, number 3. These are our 3 VMs now, all up and running, except for this last one that's still spinning up. So now what I want to do is show you my little test app here. So we go to OpenCode test. Oops. Here it is. This is just a simple HTML file. It looks like the iPhone app that does the calculator. Very basic, right? And what we're going to do is put some prompts in to change it. So now if we go to the repo here, and we go actually run this reasoning tool here. Okay. What I'm going to do is create 3 copies of this. And this is what this is going to do is basically it just takes the toil out of the curl commands that we saw earlier. Obviously, you'd have your own front end on that. And let's put those 3 IP addresses in there. So these are the 3 different instances. So number 1, number 2, number 3. So you can see 3 different IP addresses. Let's see if that instance should be up. We'll give another second to just to make sure the boot finished. And then meanwhile, let me go to the test repo so you can see we still have just that test repo that we had earlier. We can actually close that if we want. Maybe just to make this a little easier, and we can clean out the branches too. So this is the test one we did earlier. Okay, we just have main, and we just have, and we have no open pull requests. So now, let's go in here. Oops, not that guy. And we're gonna send a prompt to these 3 different machines at the exact same time to simulate sending different work. So in addition to automating tasks and manual toil, one interesting idea is maybe if you have different ways you want to solve a problem, you could give different prompts and have different VMs handle that prompt in different ways, and then see which idea came out the best. The best ideas win. I love that idea. It's like having 5 smart people in the room and having them all go off in different directions to try to build the best solution, and then you have a like a hackathon style judge at the end, and you figure out which the best ones are. So it's pretty cool to think about. So I have some prompts I already have here. So first one, I'm not going to submit them yet, but change the calculator orientation to be landscape. That's an easy one. Extend the calculator to provide advanced scientific functions. A little harder. And then what's this last one? Change the styling to be something fun and whimsical. So let's go ahead and we're going to submit these all at the same time. And I'll go back. So you can see they're all running now, and you can see here's the curl command that's sent out. Change the calculator to something to landscape, and you can see the first VM is working on it right now. Second VM also working on it. Third VM also working on it. And looks like, yeah, so it looks like it's done. This one's done. This one's still working. This one's done. Here's the PR. So now if we go into the repo, we should be able to see some PRs coming in here. Yeah. So the second one I think is still working. Actually looks like it may have just finished. Let's refresh if we see it. Yep, there's the third one. And we can go into any of these PRs and we can see it followed the AGENTS.md markdown definition of how to create the PR. So it has a summary of what happened, how to test it. And you can see, you know, file changes and so forth. Let's go to our test app here. So run this again. Oh. Okay, so here is, we're in the main branch right now. Let's go into GitHub here. Yeah, you can see here's the branches that were created. So let's see the scientific functions one. Go here, hit refresh. And looks like I changed some of the styling. But you can see sine, cosine, tangent, log. So it added some new functions, which is cool. Let's go ahead and change it to landscape mode. Where did it go? There it is. That's landscape mode. That looks kind of ugly. Let's go to whimsical. Hit refresh, and it's whimsical. See, so three different variants were all checked in and made into branches at the same time, which is cool. You could have 10 different variants go in, or you could, maybe you have a tool to automate creating your prompts to have different variants. The prompts create variants of the prompts, right, and run them all in parallel. And then as a developer now, you can go in and you can preview these and see which one you like the best, maybe, and look at the code changes too and see which one should win, and you merge that in. Or maybe there's some tests that you can run automatically that if they pass will auto merge in, for example. Or you can run some agents to do a code review of the changes and then flag that back to the original agent to try again if it doesn't pass the code review until it does pass the code review. And once it does, you flag it for human intervention at that point. So really it really is a cloning machine in some ways. It's like having a smart developer. I just cloned a smart developer 3 times and had them work on the same project basically 3 different times in parallel. And then here I am as a human just overseeing the results of that. So really fascinating stuff. Let me see if there's anything else. No, I think that's about it. So that is my demonstration here. Obviously this is not production ready. This is just showing it's possible. And this took me maybe 5 or 6 hours to discover all this, put it all together. Maybe 7 or 8, with the video stuff, but it's not a lot of work, right? Productionizing obviously would take a lot more than this. And there's tools and vendors that are lining up to solve this problem too. It's more, I think, of just a mindset shift internally of how to tackle work, which is fascinating, right? If you let it, it's going to unlock so much more productivity, not just for development really, but also for other disciplines. Imagine having agents that are analyzing spreadsheets or having analysis on customer support requests coming in. This also unlocks, like, not everyone in your engineering or in your company is an engineer, right? So maybe imagine you have an interface now, kind of like this reasoning tester here, where people can put in their own prompts and then have it actually do all the mechanics of creating the code changes and checking it in and making a PR available. And notice in here, I didn't have to have a development environment up and running. I didn't have to have GitHub access configured. It all happened automatically for me. So it's truly headless server-based implementation. So I think for more basic changes, this is actually quite practical. I wouldn't use this for like substantial changes. If I was doing an architecture change or a new piece of functionality, I would still want to go into my IDE and use Claude Code or something to do that, because there's a lot of back and forth in this. But for like bug fixes or simple stylistic changes, I think there's something here. So I will stop there. But I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you in the next one.